Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook, but it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Hey, my friends, how are you? Glad you're here. This is Your Book, Your Voice, podcast that we do here every Thursday. Glad you're joining. I'm Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching, your host, of course. And if this may be your first time tuning in, or if you're not familiar with who I am and what I do, I am an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in helping nonfiction authors turn their wonderful piece of work, this great published book that you have as a nonfiction author, and turning it into an audiobook that preserves the integrity of your voice, because your voice is in your written word, and you doing the narration, you narrating your own audiobook. I have a program, an audiobook coaching program that is called Your Book, Your Voice. It's a 6-week program where I take you from setup and preparation, because you do record it with your own recording space. And then I teach you the fine art of voiceover and narration and how to do a great, compelling, and engaging audiobook. And then part of the course is that I do all the editing for you, take all your audio files, clean them up, make sure they sound great, make sure they meet the exact specifications for publication, and then you'll be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. I call it the AAA, because those are the three distribution platforms that you absolutely have to be on. There's other distribution platforms, which we do talk about in the program, but it takes you only 6 weeks to turn your book into an audiobook. 6 weeks, not 6 months, not a year from now, not even 3 months from now. You can get your audiobook done in 6 weeks that you narrate yourself. And that's what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. So again, welcome to the show. Today is a really good topic that I feel not only, of course, I will relate it to authors and doing your audiobook, but it is something that I think a lot of people do. I don't want to say suffer, because that's not really the word that describes this, but I'm talking about author imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, but of course this is going to be geared towards authors, and of course you narrating your audiobook will tie that all in together. But imposter syndrome, author imposter syndrome, what is that? And how can you not allow it to stop you or create a barrier that will stop you from moving forward with what you want to do as an author? And of course, turning your book into an audiobook, maybe there is some imposter syndrome that's involved by you not thinking you have the ability or you are capable enough to narrate your own audiobook. And we're going to crush those false beliefs for sure. All right. So speaking of imposter syndrome, I remember the first time I heard that term and wasn't really sure what it meant. I had kind of an inkling of an idea, but then once I understood what it was, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. So the dictionary definition of imposter syndrome, let's take a look at that first before we dive in on how that applies to you as an author and also as a audiobook narrator. So what is imposter syndrome? Basically, the definition is it's a persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved, okay, or has been legitimately achieved via one's skills or talents. So basically, it's just thinking that you do not have what it takes. You do not have the ability to create. And it's funny because imposter syndrome really rears its ugly head for the creatives. You're an author, you write, you tell stories. That's very creative. Same thing with musicians or painters, or even a profession like landscapers or interior designers. very creative. And some people start to doubt their talents and doubt their abilities of whether they're really good enough. So, imposter syndrome is really self doubt. What is it that is causing you to be doubtful of your ability? And there's something interesting that when I was looking over various dictionary definitions of imposter syndrome to share with you today, there was one thing that did stand out, and that was the word success. So it was like the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved. So success popped out. And I thought about that for a second. And then I wanted to ask you this question. How do you define success as an author? What is your criteria? What are you basing it on? Matter of fact, if you're here on the live stream, feel free to go into the comments and shoot me your thoughts on how you feel and what you define success as an author. Is success for you being a #1 New York Times bestseller? Is that how you define success? Is success based on sales? I've sold hundreds and maybe thousands of my book. That's when I know I'm successful. Maybe that's how you're basing your success. Not that those aren't great goals to have, which they are, and they are attainable. Obviously, people do attain those goals, but you have to have a plan and a strategy to be able to reach, big goals like that. But maybe you're basing your success on goals like that. So my question to you again is, how do you define success? Maybe this is something to think about and maybe redefine what you consider successful. Because what can cause author imposter syndrome is thinking like, well, if I'm not a bestseller, or if I can't sell hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, whether it's your ebook, paperback, or hardcover, or even your audiobook, why am I even writing? I don't have the skill set to be called an author. And that is a false belief, and you need to crush that false belief. You cannot give in to this imposter syndrome. You cannot give into that. So maybe change up your goals a little bit. So maybe instead of thinking #1 New York Times bestseller or selling thousands of books, maybe just having a simple goal. And you can have a variety of goals, and each goal can be a step towards reaching a super big goal. But those are successes. The day you sat down at your computer, or you're getting ready to take notes on what you want to write your book about, okay? Just sitting down and making that effort, moving the needle forward as an author, that's success, okay? That is success. Writing your first draft is success, okay? There are so many ways you can look at it. So maybe redefining what you consider successful will help alleviate a lot of the imposter syndrome. As a writer, because I am a writer as well. I published a book called Lights Action You. So I have been through the rigors of self-publishing, and there are times where you are just sitting in front of the computer going, "Oh man, I'm stuck," and then sometimes that's when self-doubt creeps its way in. And when it creeps its way in, it causes imposter syndrome, where you start to doubt your ability and your talents as a writer. And this also holds true when you start to doubt your ability and your talents as a narrator. A lot of people will say, and again, I've mentioned this on other podcasts that I've done, previous podcasts about people hating their voice. And that ends up being an excuse to not move forward in doing your audiobook and narrating your audiobook yourself, especially for a nonfiction author. It's your story. It's your story. Only you can tell your story the way you intend it to be heard. Only you can, okay? So that becomes a barrier. When people are like, I don't have what it takes. Don't lie to yourself. You do have what it takes. You need to believe in yourself. Again, love your voice, believe in your voice, believe in your talents. You're a talented writer. If you're talented enough to sit down and write a book and get it published, you're definitely talented enough to narrate your own audiobook. A lot of feelings that come up when you are in imposter syndrome mode are anxiousness, maybe even feeling depressed because you were thinking, I'm really great on writing this book. I'm excited about writing this book, and then you hit a roadblock, and then you start to doubt yourself. So maybe you feel a little depressed. Feeling like you're fraudulent, feeling that you're phony, and then another aspect that may occur because of you feeling this way is procrastination. You put it off. Now, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not that great of a writer, so I'll work on it later. And then guess what? You end up being one of those authors who have been working on their book for 15, 20 years, and they never get it done because they keep putting it off and they're procrastinating. And again, one of my infamous catchphrases is procrastination equals stagnation, right? You're not moving anywhere. You're just stagnant, okay? So think of this catchphrase, another one that I say a lot, which is action takers are success makers. Continue to take action as an author. You are an author. You have a published book. You wrote this great book. You are a brand. This is your brand. This isn't some, hobby. Don't treat it like a hobby. You treat it, as your business. You are an author brand. You have a product, whether it's an ebook or paperback or hardcover, that's your product. And if you don't have an audiobook, that's where I come in as an audiobook coach to help you create an awesome book that you narrate yourself. Now, there is an action step, and I will share this now, and I'm going to talk about it later on in the podcast, but I just wanted to share this with you. Now, if you want to take action in creating your audiobook, one simple action step, and that's just to book a call with me. You schedule an audiobook consultation call with me. All right, we're going to put a graphic up there on the screen. I'll stand out of the way there a little bit. For those of you who are seeing the video portion of the podcast, it's up there on the screen. So take a screen grab of that if you like. And again, for those of you who are maybe just hearing the audio version of the podcast, the link to schedule a call with me to talk about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, which is what I teach. It's a bit.ly link. So it's bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Simple. All right. Again, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. When you schedule your call, you will speak with me directly. I don't send you off to somebody else to handle it. You work with me directly, and that's how you start the process, because I want to talk with you about your book first. And we're establishing a business relationship, and that's what I believe in having a conversation with any of my clients before I enroll them into the program. Okay, because this is, it's a personal thing. Writing your book is a personal thing. So I just wanted to put that out there. So if you are considering turning your book into an audiobook, now's the time to do it. Don't put it off, all right? And don't let imposter syndrome stop you or create a barrier from you creating your own audiobook, all right? Don't let those feelings of anxiety or thinking you're not good enough or thinking you don't have the talent or thinking you don't have the voice. None of that is true. Those are false beliefs. You need to crush those false beliefs. In some of the previous podcasts, I've talked about the fuel that you provide for your subconscious. If you're providing negative fuel, your subconscious is just going to believe it. If you keep telling yourself that you're not good enough, you know what? Your subconscious is not going to support you. It's just going to be, okay, well, if that's the fuel you're giving me, then fine. Then you're not good enough, okay? You need to get rid of the bad fuel and put in some good fuel with positivity, with affirmations, telling yourself you are great, but not just telling yourself, telling it to a point to where you feel it. When you feel it, then you believe it, okay? Those are some of the ways of getting over this imposter syndrome. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to dive deeply into you as an author, how it affects you, and things that you can do to not feel like you're not good enough, because you are. All right. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. There's more information at robertlanecoaching.com if you want to check out my website. But we're going to come back again talking more specifically for you as an author on how to deal with and crush imposter syndrome. All right. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
All right, welcome back to Your Book, Your Voice. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Again, appreciate you hanging out for this podcast. Again, our topic is author imposter syndrome, something that a lot of authors deal with. Imposter syndrome is something that just a lot of people in general deal with. Professionals in the workforce, especially creatives. Writing a book is creative. Music is creative, art is creative, and a lot of people sometimes just doubt their abilities and doubt their talents. And this is what creates imposter syndrome. So let's talk about the author aspect of this. How does this affect you as an author? It can be pretty detrimental. It really could. It could really create a barrier that is stopping you from moving forward in writing your book. And as I mentioned before the break, procrastination is one of the things that happens when you start to doubt yourself. And so self-doubt is such a debilitating thing that happens to you. Think of it this way, though. Self-doubt is a symptom. So what you need to do is really strip away the layers and think about what is the root cause of self-doubt. What is the root cause of why you are feeling like your abilities and talents are not good enough? Why are you doubting yourself? What are some of the causes? All right. Again, getting down to the root cause. And if you want to, again, comment, please let me know about your thoughts. Have you gone through this? What are some of the things that have stopped you from moving forward? You know, you get writer's block, okay, but maybe there's something that's causing that. Maybe there's something when you hit that wall that imposter syndrome rears its ugly head and then stops you. And then you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I trying to write this book? Because it is important for you to write it, and you have to, again, overcome that. But getting down to the root cause, it could have been something that has happened, way back in your past. Sometimes that does happen. Sometimes there are things that have happened in your past that have an effect, right? That maybe you're not consciously aware, but subconsciously you are. That stops you from doing the things that you want to do and just doing the things that you need to do. If you're an author, you need to write. So you need to not allow imposter syndrome to stop you from being a great author. When you publish this fabulous book of yours, now it's time to turn into an audiobook. Don't let imposter syndrome stop you. It's funny. I remember back when I first started writing. Was it back in maybe it was seventh grade? Seventh grade, and we had to write poetry. And I remember the poems I wrote were pretty bad. But you know what? We all have to start somewhere, even as a writer. Think back to the time when you first started to write, and the drafts that you made and the stories that you wrote about, or maybe, again, the story as a nonfiction author that you wanted to tell. That's why we have rough drafts. But I remember that. I remember those poems. And it was just really an assignment to try to get the creative juices flowing. And there wasn't so much worry about discipline in regards to perfect rhyme and rhythm and all that stuff, because this was, for poetry. But it was fun. It was fun to do. And then later on, let's say I was in 11th grade, and I had this crazy nun who was my teacher, Sister Angela Clare. And as crazy and as eccentric as this nun was, she was very inspirational and really made a difference in my life as a writer and as a creative person, because she encouraged that. There was a project that we had to do in class, which was writing this creative writing packet, and we had to write certain styles of poetry and stories. You write disciplined verse poetry, a limerick, other forms of poetry, and of course you have to have perfect rhyme and rhythm. Everything has to, match perfectly, or else they'll, she'll dock you points. But it was very inspirational, and this was an honors English class, and for me, English was not one of my strong points in school. I remember the first quarter in my 11th grade, my first quarter, I got an F. I failed the class, and or at least the first quarter. But after that actually fired me up and got me inspired to raise that grade. And back then I called it, oh, I'm going to play her game. All right, sister, this is how you want me to do it? Great. All right, I'll show you. And actually was able to raise that grade from an F to a B. Hey, that was a good accomplishment. But I remember on a test, I just want to share a quick story with you. I remember on a test about grammar and this and that and the other, and I wasn't doing all that great. And I know I was failing the test. So there was an extra credit part of the test. It was an extra 5 points. And it was we had to write a poem, like on the spot, extra credit, any type of poem. Okay. You could write a limerick, you could write a disciplined verse, you can write, So I wrote a poem, and it was a disciplined verse poem. And it was called, and I can't believe I still remember this too. This is so long ago. It was called "The Sky is Blue and So Am I." And so the poem went like this: "The sky is blue and so am I. I don't know how or even why I feel this way. I can't explain. How come your tests drive me insane?" So it was perfect rhyme and rhythm. It met all the requirements of a disciplined verse poem, and I got my 5 points. And I actually raised that test from being an F to a D. Now that's an accomplishment. I'm just sharing this story with you because, again, as an author, go back to the time when you were first starting to write. There's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of figuring things out. Every author goes through this. Every creative person goes through this. And you need to appreciate the journey, appreciate where you are now and what it took for you to get there, right? If you have a published nonfiction book, that is a great accomplishment. Think about all those steps that it took to get to that point, right? I mean, when I did my book, I never thought that I would, release or actually write, let alone publish my own book. And, lo and behold, here it is. Now, it's funny, after doing all those poetry, in seventh grade and then 11th grade and all that, after I graduated high school, I did write 3 poetry books. Now, I haven't published them. And part of that, which ties, of course, into imposter syndrome, is that I felt that it was not good enough. That I felt that my ability as a writer, as a poet, oh my God, there's so many other great authors and poets out there. No one's going to want to read this. Who would want to read these books? But that is doubting my ability and my talent as a poet. Of course, everybody has their own particular style. And again, you as a nonfiction author, and if you are a poet, that is what makes you unique. That is what makes you you. Okay, that's what makes you authentic, is because it's your style, it's your voice, it's your pacing, it's your energy, it's your emotion, it's all those things. That's what makes you so unique. And that's the one thing that you need to remember that will help keep imposter syndrome at bay. Pushing it aside. It's like, what? This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I'm about, and this is how I express myself. And I'm proud of how I express myself. That's what you need to tell yourself and believe it. You believe it and you say it until you feel it. Because again, when you feel it, you believe it. All right. And then when you feel it and believe it, then your subconscious is going to believe it. So you get rid of, as I mentioned, that bad fuel. You get rid of all that bad fuel and you put in the good fuel. All right. So again, self-doubt is a symptom. Figuring out what the root cause of that self-doubt is what you need to address. And that's going to help you not feel that you don't have the ability or the talent or what it takes to be a great author, because you do. You do. And especially when you're narrating your own audiobook, you have what it takes to narrate your own audiobook. You do. This is why authors work with me as their coach, because as their coach, I teach them how to do a great narration, how to be compelling, how to be authentic, how to be yourself. Because that's what people want to hear. When someone's listening to an audiobook, if it's just like whatever and it sounds reedy, you're going to lose interest, right? The listener's going to be like, whatever. But when you bring your unique style, your personality, your emotion, your energy, which is in your written word already, but when you're bringing that out as an audiobook narration that you're doing yourself, that's what makes the book compelling. It's your authenticity. Things that I've talked about before in regards to creating an audiobook is, there's the practical aspects of it, like the physical aspects of it, the technical aspects of it, which, all come into play, which, I teach you how to do anyway. But it's also the emotional aspect, the mindset aspect. Are you in the right frame of mind? Are you bringing that emotion? Are you tapping in to the core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place? Are you bringing that to the table when you do your audiobook narration? Because when you do, that's what makes your book so compelling. That's what keeps your listeners so engaged. And when they're done listening to your book, they're like, wow, man, that was really great. I want to listen to that again. And they will. And from a business standpoint, because you being an author brand, that's your business, people will buy your audiobook. People will buy your ebook or your paperback or your hardcover in addition to your audiobook because they like to read along. I do. I listen to audiobooks. I mean, obviously I'm an audiobook coach, so I listen to audiobooks all the time when I'm helping other authors, but I enjoy it. And I love following along, especially, if there's a book that I really like, I'll get the audiobook. So I want to hear the author tell their story. That's really important. And then I'll get the paperback. And I'll hear something that just stands out as I'm reading along, and I'm like, oh my God, what a great idea, or what a great concept, or I really like their approach on this topic, or that phrase that they said is awesome, and I'll highlight it. And that's what people do. So from a business standpoint, again, your audiobook can incite more sales, selling more of your ebook and paperback and hardcover, and of course, having your audiobook opens up the door to the market of people who only get audiobooks, an audience that maybe you haven't tapped into yet, that will discover you as an author and that will love the story that you're telling. And this is really important, especially if you're a coach or a teacher or an educator or an entrepreneur, and you have maybe a coaching program or a course or something that you've written in your book. You definitely need to be narrating that yourself. Okay, because it's your coaching program. You're teaching your coaching program. Why would you have some other narrator do it? Because remember, no matter how great the narrator is, and there's a ton of great narrators, of course, but they're going to interpret your nonfiction book their way. It's going to be their interpretation, not yours. So again, this is why it's so important for you to narrate your own audiobook. And you cannot allow self-doubt to stop you from doing that, okay? You have what it takes. You have the voice, all right? You absolutely have the voice and what it takes. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm just going to go through some points that you can use to, again, help you get rid of imposter syndrome, all right? Some good stuff coming up. Don't go away. This is Your Book, Your Voice. Again, appreciate you hanging out on this podcast. I am Robert A. Lane, your host, and I'm with Robert Lane Coaching. Don't go away. Some really good advice coming up next.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And welcome back to Your Book, Your Voice, the place for nonfiction authors to learn about the audiobook world. And, we do talk a lot about the mindset aspect as well, like imposter syndrome, which is our topic for today. Before I go into some of the things that you can do to help you alleviate this horrible thing that can be very detrimental to you and stop you from being the author that you want to be, I have a freebie for you, and we're going to put a graphic up on the screen here for you to check out. This is my audiobook narration reference guide, and this is a freebie for you to download. grab it. Just make again a screenshot of the link, and then there's some really good tips about how to do a great narration, both from the practical and physical aspect of audiobook narration, and also the intangibles, the things that you can do to help you be more authentic, be more conversational. It's a really good reference guide. I think you'll enjoy it, and it is free. So just go to the link. And again, for those of you who are only able to hear the podcast, the link is another bit.ly link, which is bit.ly/narration reference guide, just all together, narration reference guide. So bit.ly/narration reference guide. That's all you need to do to get your free audiobook narration guide. Wanted to share that with you because I do want you to get a copy of that. And it's just my thank you for being a supporter of the podcast and a supporter of Robert Lane Coaching. You can also find me, by the way, on YouTube as well at Robert Lane Coaching, on Instagram at Robert Lane Coaching, on Facebook at Robert Lane Coaching. So love to have you follow because I do post daily on Instagram and also LinkedIn as well. So love to have you follow. Anyway, let's get back into things that you can do to help you alleviate imposter syndrome. Now, again, those stories that I shared with you about, poetry and Sister Angela Clare in high school and all that stuff, kind of comes into play to this first point that I want to share with you, and that's this: just acknowledge your achievements. Okay, take stock of all the accomplishments that you've made. Again, like I mentioned, the process of when you started to write. Even for me as a musician, when I started to play guitar, I self-taught for a while and then took lessons and then went to a conservatory to study music. So again, it was a process, and we do this to improve our ability, not only for myself as a musician, but for you as an author. But take a moment. All right, just think back of when you started. And then where are you now, right? You're at this point today, you have a published book, or maybe you're going to be publishing your book. Think about when you first started. You have made so much progress, right? You have so much to be proud of. So don't doubt your abilities. Don't doubt your talents. It's all there, okay? And remember that mistakes, or failure, and that's such a vague term, really, because depending on how you define failure, 9 out of 10 times is just a lesson, really. Failure is just a lesson to be learned. If you tried something and it didn't work, you figure out the reason of why it didn't work, and then you make adjustments. Failure is a great way of learning. I've done things with my coaching business and just other things that I've done in life where I'll just try something, and again, it may be a risk, but the results, if it's successful, are phenomenal. But if it does fail, it's like, okay, I tried to do this particular thing and it didn't work. These are the reasons why it didn't work. All right, great, thank you. I learned. Now I know what to do. Now I know what my next steps are. Okay, so don't consider failure as failure. Just consider it as a lesson to be learned. All right, and again, you do need to not get super emotional over, let's say, writer's block, or something that feels like a barrier. Okay, you need to separate your feelings from facts. Okay. You are a great writer. You've written a book. Maybe you're writing another book. Maybe you are writing your first book. The point is, you have the talent and the skills and the ability to do it. Okay, those are the facts. Don't let self-doubt tweak that, because that again creates feelings, and these feelings are not true because those are false beliefs. And bad habits and false beliefs, again, are the bad fuel that you're giving your subconscious, and you don't want to do that. You want positivity. You want, again, create positive affirmations about you as an author and also about you to narrate your own audiobook. Create affirmations. I am a great author. I am a great narrator. I have a fantastic voice. I love my voice. People will love my audiobook. People are going to love hearing me. You got to tell yourself this, but you have to say it until you feel it. And when you feel it, you believe it. All right. So another thing that you can do, and this is something that I do from a business standpoint, I have I guess you would say, a mastermind group that I meet with, and I talk with other coaches, other entrepreneurs who have their own business. Once in a while, like once a month, we get together. We do a Zoom meeting. We talk about things that we're doing that are working, that are not working, and we help each other out. Now, you as a writer and an author, you can do the same thing. Talk with other writers, support each other. One of the big important aspects of the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach is support. I mean, not only as your coach, of course, I'm your support system. Of course, I'm your safety net. Of course, I'm there with you every step of the way to make sure you create this awesome audiobook. But in the private Facebook group, we all support each other, and I encourage that. I have certain assignments that I have the authors do and that share ideas, because we are a supportive group. So when you find a group as a writer, as an author, when you find other authors and other writers, get together with them and swap ideas, share thoughts. Maybe you talk about author imposter syndrome and ways that maybe it makes you feel, so you can talk about it and get it out of your system and share with somebody, and then talk about ways of how you can alleviate it. A great way to express yourself. Again, in my audiobook coaching program, I have a group coaching plan, and I have a one-on-one coaching plan. What's great about the group plan is that we all get to talk to each other. And the one-on-one coaching plan, of course, is great because I get to work with these authors one-on-one and help them with their specific needs. But it's always good to talk with other people. Okay. Another thing that you need to do that will really help with crushing this author imposter syndrome is setting realistic expectations, and that's goals, right? Setting realistic goals. Now, of course, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you want to be a New York bestseller, that's great. If you want to sell 1,000 or 1,000,000 books, that's great. Those are great goals. But set realistic expectations, which means you need to plan steps, plan little mini goals to get you to that big goal. And the other thing that I want to share with you, and this was even a topic for one of my podcasts, was who cares what other people think? All right? Who cares what other people think? Of course, you do care in regards to them liking your book, liking your audiobook, but when it comes to you as an author, who cares what other people think? Other people's opinions, what influencers are doing, what other people are doing, doesn't mean that is what's best for you. Because, and here comes the catchphrase, you are the CEO of you. Buck stops right here, okay? Remember that. Don't allow other people to influence your decision-making for you as an author. You're the author brand. This is your brand. This is your business. This is your product, being your books. Again, no matter what format they are in, ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook. All right? Own your brand. You are the boss. It doesn't matter what other people think. And that, of course, brings the other catchphrase. Well, I got a lot of them, don't I? The other catchphrase, which is, I am who I am. I do what I do. And I am not ashamed of it. And that will alleviate self-doubt. That will 100% build confidence, which is what you need to move forward. Building confidence is such a great positive fuel for your subconscious, okay? Confidence, yes. Believing in yourself, yes. Again, say it until you feel it. I am a great author. I am a great audiobook narrator. I love my voice. again, whatever the affirmations are, okay? The other thing you can do is visualization. Visualization is great because visualization is you're imagining, maybe it's the end goal. Maybe it's that level of success that you are striving to achieve. Picturing yourself there. And the trick is not only seeing yourself at that place, but feeling it. How does it make you feel? I feel, joyous. I feel empowered. I feel accomplishment. And I feel just happy. And I love what I do as an author. Visualization is a good thing that you can do, again, to picture in your mind that goal that you're trying to reach, that success that you're striving for. And again, setting up those mini goals along the way. Those mini goals will get you to the ultimate goal. And you keep moving forward and you keep moving forward. And remember, action takers are success makers. Continue to take action. Continue to believe in yourself to the point where you are comfortable to take calculated risks. And again, if you fail or it doesn't work out the way you thought it might work out, figure out, okay, why didn't it work? I get it. Now I know what I need to do to make it work better. Okay? Keep these things in mind because that's what's going to get rid of that imposter syndrome. All right? You do have the ability, you have the talent, you have what it takes, and all you need to do is believe in yourself. All right? You just need to believe in yourself. All right, we're going to take one more quick break. I do want to tell you a little bit more about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach. And we'll do a quick summary about author imposter syndrome. This is Your Book, Your Voice. Again, appreciate you hanging out. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. One more quick break and we'll be right back.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
All right, welcome back to Your Book, Your Voice. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. And again, our topic is author imposter syndrome. Hopefully, some of the information that I share with you will help you overcome this debilitation that you don't want to have. And one more piece of advice, and that is keep writing. Keep writing. Don't ever let self-doubt doubting your abilities, doubting your talents, doubting who you are as a writer and an author stop you from writing. No more imposter syndrome. Continue to write, even on those days where maybe you're not feeling it, or on those days where you do hit writer's block. There's I just can't get past this wall. Just sometimes just even stepping away, getting a breath of fresh air, getting regrounded, refocused, and then going back helps a lot as well. But don't stop writing. You are an author. Again, if you have a published book and you're working on another book, fantastic. Or if you're working on your first book, fantastic. Keep at it. Keep at it, because you do have the skills and you do have the talent to be an awesome author. You are an author brand. Your book is your product. And if you don't have your book in audiobook form, you definitely need to do that, because again, the audiobook market has continually been growing and expanding for the last several years. I love this stat that in 2019, revenue for audiobooks surpassed ebook sales. The gap does continue to widen. So again, audiobooks are the way to go. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. You can find out more about that at robertlanecoaching.com. And basically, what the program is a 6-week intensive where you, as the author, set up your own recording space, which I teach you how to do. And what makes what I do unique is that I provide you with the professional recording equipment you need. You don't have to find a studio. You don't have to pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to find an engineer, audio guy, all that stuff, because I send you the professional equipment that you need to set up your own recording space, and I teach you how to set up a professional recording space in your home, in your office, and you are set. All right, that's phase 1. Phase 2 is teaching you the fine art of voiceover, the fine art of narration, how to be authentic, how to be conversational, how to keep your listener engaged from opening credits to closing credits, how to be compelling, all the things that you need to know, the practical aspects of it, the physical aspects of it, and of course, the emotional and intangible aspects of doing a great audiobook narration. All right. Now, you have your audiobook recorded. Now, what do? This is the other part of the program that I offer, because I have 20 plus years experience as an audio editor. I've worked 30 plus years in the entertainment industry in a variety of aspects, audio being, of course, my forte. So the coaching hat comes off, the audio editing hat comes on, and you send your audiobook files to me. I do all the editing for you. I make sure they all fit and meet the exact specifications for publication, and you don't have to worry about it. It's done for you. And when your files are done and ready to go, I make master files for you, and I do all the uploading for you into Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books for publication. You don't have to worry about it. So if there's ever any issues, because if there's, let's say a file gets rejected because it's too loud or too soft or whatever, I know what the problem is. I can fix it right away. No problem. It's done. You're guaranteed published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books by the end of the 6-week program. Guaranteed. And my other guarantee is that I will continue to work with you until your book is published. And you own all the rights. I don't take any royalties. The royalties are all yours. The audio files are all yours. I send you back the mastered audio files, and you can do anything that you want to do with those. And it's just a really great program. And I can't even tell you how proud I am of the authors that have gone through the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. They sound fantastic. If you go to my website, by the way, which is at robertlanecoaching.com, if you scroll down the homepage, there are some snippets, actually, of some authors who've been through the program, and you can hear how they did their audiobook. Now remember, this is the author. These aren't professional narrators, but they sound professional. They sound fantastic. And that's all about them, all right? Yes, I help them as their coach, but it's all about those authors. It's their narration. They sound fantastic. They tell it in their style, in their, pacing. It's their voice, which is why it's so important for you as a nonfiction author to narrate your own audiobook. All right. So again, action takers are success makers. Procrastination equals stagnation. There's that phrase. You don't want that, but you want to be an action taker. So again, that one action step you need to do is just schedule an audiobook consultation call with me so we can talk about your book and get you enrolled. All right. Real simple. We're going to put that graphic up one more time for you to check out, for those of you who can see the video, to book a call. And again, the link is bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Okay. That's all you need to do. bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Schedule your call with me. Again, you talk with me directly and we get you enrolled. And I'm excited. I love the books and I love the authors that have gone through the program because their books are fantastic. So many great stories. And I get sucked into the story as I'm doing the editing. When I do my final output and mastering the files, I really get to listen. And I'm like, wow, this is great. And that greatness is all inside you. It's all inside you. You have what it takes. You have the voice, you have the personality, you have everything that you need to do a fantastic audiobook narration. So don't ever doubt your ability. Don't ever let author imposter syndrome create any kind of barrier to stop you from being the fantastic author that you are. And yes, you can narrate your own audiobook. All right. All right, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. My sign off, as always, is this. When you're out and about, say hello to a stranger, smile at them, give them a compliment, right? It takes 5 or 10 seconds out of your time, but that one small gesture of kindness can really make somebody's day because you don't know what they're going through. So be good humans. That's all I ask. All right, we'll be back here, of course, next Thursday, 8 p.m. on the East Coast, 5 p.m. on the Pacific Coast for the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Again, I'm Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Check me out at robertlanecoaching.com. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.